My name is Adrian, I'm 34 years old, and I hadn't planned to write this. But after what happened at my brother's wedding, I honestly need to get this off my chest. For context, I've always had a complicated relationship with my younger brother, Tyler. He's 31, charming, successful, and very good at playing the golden child. I've always been the quieter one, the planner, the fixer, the one who helped pay for things when mom and dad couldn't. And still, somehow, I've always been just background noise to everyone else's highlight reel. Growing up, Tyler and I weren't exactly close. He was the kind of kid who broke stuff and blamed it on me, and I was the one who'd take the fall to keep the peace. My parents would sigh and shake their heads, say, "He's still learning, Adrian, you're older, be the example." And I did. Even when he stole my car at 17 and dented the side backing out of a party drunk, I paid the insurance. I didn't tell our parents. And when he called me from jail at 21 because he got caught trying to shoplift cologne for his girlfriend, I was the one who bailed him out. Again, silence. Again, peacekeeper. So fast forward to present day, Tyler's getting married to a woman named Marissa. We've met a few times over the past 2 years, and I'd be lying if I said we ever really clicked. She's the kind of person who talks with her eyes half-lidded, like she's already bored of whatever you're saying. Always dressed to the nines, always scanning the room to see if someone better walked in. She once called my job in logistics cute. I've kept my distance. Still, when the wedding invites went out, I RSVP'd yes. I even helped Tyler with some planning, recommended a great caterer I'd worked with through my company, and he used them. I didn't expect to be best man or anything. I'm not delusional, but I thought I'd at least get a seat at a decent table and maybe a few moments to feel like family. The wedding was set at this gorgeous countryside venue, with string lights draped across tall oak beams and a small lake glistening in the background. Very fairy tale. Very Instagram perfect. I showed up early with a wrapped gift, an engraved decanter set with their initials and wedding date. It wasn't flashy, but it was classy. Something they could keep for years. I checked in at the welcome table where a girl with a headset and clipboard gave me a tight smile. "You're Adrian, right?" I nodded. She looked at her sheet and frowned a little. "You're marked down as +1. I blinked. "Sorry, what?" "You're listed under +1s, so we've set up seating near the kitchen entrance, by the fold-outs. If you had brought someone, it would have been different, but since you're solo," I felt my stomach drop. "I'm his brother." The girl froze. "Oh, I'm so sorry. That must be a mistake." "Let me," but before she could scurry off, Marissa herself swooped in. Perfect white dress, perfect makeup, perfect icy smile. "Hey, Adrian," she said, drawing out my name like it left a bitter taste. "Glad you could make it. I told the planner about the seating. Hope you don't mind. We just had to make some tough calls, space-wise." I looked at her. "You sat me in the kitchen." She gave a quick laugh. "Not in the kitchen. Just near it. It's just for +1s, you know? I mean, technically you're not in the bridal party, and we had to prioritize seating for close friends and extended family. No hard feelings, right?" I looked past her into the reception area. Tables with fine linens and floating candles, full of people laughing and sipping champagne. My uncle, who hadn't spoken to Tyler in 6 years, had a seat dead center. My cousin Ryan, who once got caught stealing from grandma's purse, had a seat. And then I saw her. My ex-girlfriend, Tessa, sitting 2 tables from the couple's sweetheart table, laughing with a glass of Prosecco. She and I dated 5 years ago. Tyler introduced us. When we broke up, I found out they kept in touch. Of course, she had a seat. Marissa must have noticed where I was looking. "Oh, yeah, we invited Tessa. She and Tyler stayed friends, and she's always been so supportive. You don't mind, do you?" I didn't say a word. I just nodded slowly. I walked toward the fold-out chair I'd been assigned. It was set awkwardly at the end of a small table, right next to a swinging door where servers kept rushing in and out, brushing past guests and apologizing with full trays of food. It was loud, hot, and smelled like fish and burnt rosemary. I sat there for a moment. Just a moment. I watched as the music started. The couple entered. Everyone clapped. I watched Tyler whisper something to Tessa as they passed her table, and she smiled back a little too warmly. I watched my gift being placed off to the side, ignored with a growing pile of other boxes. Then I stood up. I walked back to the table, picked up the decanter box, and started walking toward the exit. As I passed Marissa near the dance floor, she turned, saw me, and called out, "Wait, where are you going?" I stopped, turned around slowly. The room quieted just enough to catch the tail end of my response. "+1 this." A few people gasped. I think someone laughed. I didn't care. I walked straight toward the doors, gift in hand. I wasn't storming out. I walked slow, calm, deliberate. That's what made it worse for them, I think. As I reached the parking lot, I heard footsteps behind me. Tyler. He was jogging after me, Tuck's jacket flapping behind him, mouth moving but unsure of what to say. Adrian. Wait, dude. What was that? Why are you leaving? Come on. It's my wedding. I turned and faced him. You let her sit me by the kitchen. He hesitated. It wasn't. I didn't realize. She did the chart. I just thought, look, it's not a big deal, right? I shook my head. Not a big deal? You gave Tessa a better seat than your own brother. He looked uncomfortable, scratching the back of his neck. We're not trying to exclude you, man. It's just Marissa wanted certain people up front. She didn't want tension. Tension? I repeated. You mean me existing in the same room as your ex-friend who dated your brother? He didn't answer. That silence? That was the moment something in me broke. Or maybe it snapped back together. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the gift or say something cruel. I just turned around, unlocked my car, and got in. As I pulled away, I saw him standing in the gravel, half waving, half stunned, like he wasn't sure whether to be angry or ashamed. And that wasn't even the beginning of the real fallout. I didn't go home right away. I drove aimlessly for a while, windows down, the cool air doing a better job of keeping me from boiling over than anything else could. I ended up at this quiet overlook on the edge of town, the kind of spot where you can see the lights of the city stretching out like fireflies scattered across black velvet. I parked, sat in silence, and just let it all settle. Not just the wedding, years of it. The favoritism, the manipulation, the way I'd been treated like a disposable extra in a movie starring everyone but me. And somewhere in that silence, I made a decision. I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. I wasn't going to keep swallowing the disrespect just to keep the peace. I didn't return any of Tyler's texts that night, or the ones the next morning, or the one from Marissa that read, "Hey, sorry about the mix-up yesterday. Hope you're not still upset. Let's move on." Yeah. I didn't reply, but I did open my laptop. See, I work in logistics and event coordination. I don't just plan delivery routes and schedules. I handle crisis management, vendor relations, and back-end tracking for major events. One of my recent clients? The catering company Tyler had used for the wedding. The one I'd referred. The one whose business I'd helped grow. So I made a polite call to the catering manager, Nancy. She was sweet, efficient, and had already thanked me profusely after the wedding for the connection. I told her the truth, that I felt disrespected, that I wasn't just some plus one, and that I was going to be reevaluating whether I could continue recommending her services going forward. She was quiet for a moment, then she said something that stuck with me. We had to rush everything that day. They underpaid the deposit and then changed half the guest list 3 days before. Honestly, if you hadn't helped with the logistics, we wouldn't have pulled it off. I'm sorry you were treated that way. That was all I needed to hear. Because that meant there were vulnerabilities, receipts, contracts, and leverage. I didn't go nuclear right away. That's not my style. I'm more of a slow burn guy. So I started small. First, I canceled the custom order I'd placed for their wedding gift. It wasn't just the decanter I had given them. I'd also arranged for a matching crystal glassware set that was meant to be delivered to their apartment the following week. I didn't just cancel it. I redirected it to myself. Figured I might as well enjoy the good Scotch glasses. Then I made a quiet call to the wedding photographer, another friend of mine. She had taken stunning pictures at the event and usually offered generous friends and family discounts for referrals. I let her know that I wouldn't be referring her anymore if she offered that rate to Tyler and Marissa. She understood immediately. I was cutting threads. Quietly. Precisely. But the big moment came about a week later when I got an email from Tyler. The subject line was just, "Need help?" He was asking for a favor. Classic. Apparently, he and Marissa were planning a honeymoon extension. They'd been gifted a 3-week trip to Bali by Marissa's wealthy uncle, but they'd run into issues with their passports and were now trying to coordinate last-minute express renewals, plus international flight rebooking, plus villa transfers. Tyler's words, "You're the only one I trust to fix this stuff. You're good at this kind of thing. Please, man." No apology. No mention of what happened at the wedding. Just, "Help me." I stared at the screen for a long moment, and then I opened a draft and wrote, "Hey Tyler, I'd love to help, but unfortunately, this +1 doesn't take bookings anymore. Good luck." Then I left it unsent. Not because I changed my mind. I just realized something more satisfying. I didn't need to say anything. Instead, I forwarded the email to an old colleague of mine, Angela, who handles urgent travel logistics for high-profile clients. I didn't ask her to help. I asked her to blacklist them. It was petty, I'll admit that, but it felt right. I'd spent years being the fixer, the silent support beam for a family that never noticed the weight I carried. And this time, I let it all fall. 2 days later, I got a text from Tyler. This time, he sounded less like a groom and more like a man unraveling. "Did you tell Angela not to help us? She said something about you being a non-client blocker? What's wrong, man? We're stranded in Singapore. Flights got canceled. The villa won't refund us. Marissa's flipping out. What's your problem?" I didn't answer. I was out to dinner that night with a friend when I saw Marissa's name pop up on my screen. This time, she called. I let it ring. She left a voicemail. "Adrian, I don't know what your issue is, but Tyler is losing it. If this is about the wedding, you need to grow up. We didn't mean to hurt your feelings. You've made your point. Now stop being childish and fix it." And that made me laugh. Out loud. Right at the dinner table. I didn't fix it. I didn't respond. I just sat back and waited. Because I knew something they didn't. The real fallout hadn't even started yet. See, remember that catering invoice I mentioned? The one where they underpaid? Well, turns out that a breach of contract clause kicks in when a client provides inaccurate guest counts, changes dietary requests after the deadline, and fails to remit full payment within 14 days. That clause comes with a 25% penalty. And Nancy? She was tired of chasing them down. So she filed a formal complaint with the venue, triggering a chain reaction of fees. The bartender, also underpaid, did the same. And suddenly, Tyler and Marissa weren't just dealing with a ruined honeymoon. They were looking at several $1,000s in late fees, penalties, and withheld security deposits. All because they tried to cut corners and cut me out. And I hadn't even touched the final card up my sleeve. About 2 weeks after the honeymoon disaster, I started getting tagged in photos from the wedding on social media. A distant cousin had posted an album with the caption, "Beautiful wedding, unforgettable night. Congrats Tyler and Marissa." I clicked out of curiosity, and I mean this in the most literal way. It was like watching a highlight reel of my own erasure. There were 83 photos. In exactly one, you could see the back of my head, blurry, near the kitchen doorway. I wasn't in the family portraits. I wasn't in the toast videos. I wasn't even mentioned in the caption thanking everyone who made the day magical. But you know who was mentioned? Tessa. Tagged. Commenting. Liking. It felt deliberate now, not just bad planning. It was like Marissa had decided I was unimportant, and Tyler had agreed. And that's when I decided I wasn't just going to step away quietly anymore. I was going to hold up that mirror and let them see what they'd become. I made a post. Just one. Simple, calm, factual. A slideshow of behind-the-scenes photos I had taken on my phone during setup. Me adjusting table numbers, helping the florist arrange bouquets, talking with the caterer. I included a screenshot of the seating chart Marissa's planner had sent me by mistake in a group email, where my name was labeled +1, Tyler's brother, in parentheses, literally an afterthought. Then I wrote, helped plan the wedding, found the venue, got the caterer a discount, showed up early to help set up, was seated next to the kitchen as a +1. Bride said I should understand. So I left quietly. 2 weeks later, they asked for help again. This time, I declined. Apparently, that makes me petty. The post went semi-viral in our small social circle. I didn't expect it to, but people shared it, commented, reached out. Old high school friends, former co-workers, even family members. My cousin Lauren messaged me, saying, "I knew something fell off that day. You looked so uncomfortable. I'm sorry." I didn't respond to everyone, but I read every word. It felt validating. But it wasn't just the sympathy that mattered. It was what happened next. 2 days after the post, Tyler called me again. I let it go to voicemail. This time, he didn't sound angry. He sounded nervous. "Hey, so, Marissa's mom saw your post. And now Marissa's freaking out. She thinks you're trying to ruin her image. Her boss follows you, man. She's saying we need you to take it down." I listened to that message while I was at the gym. Played it twice. Then once more on the walk to my car. I didn't reply. Instead, I made a second post. Been asked to delete my last post. Apparently, the truth is damaging to someone's image. I'd delete it if it wasn't 100% true. I won't be silenced for the sake of appearances. I spent too many years making myself small for other people's comfort. Never again. I included no names. No hate. Just honesty. That was the trick. People can debate opinions. They can't erase screenshots and seating charts. That post. It got more attention than the first. Marissa's boss didn't comment publicly, but a mutual friend sent me a screenshot. A company Slack message warning employees to uphold respectful personal conduct, even outside of work, along with a reminder that perception reflects character. The fallout began unraveling fast after that. First, I got a call from Marissa's mother. Not a voicemail, a full call. I didn't pick up, but she left a 3-minute rant about how damaging this was to their family reputation, and how one day you'll regret making a scene over a chair. Over a chair. That told me everything I needed to know. They still didn't get it. It wasn't the chair. It was years of disrespect finally crashing through the dam. Then came the group texts. Tyler tried to do damage control by creating a family group chat, "Let's clear the air," and added everyone from our immediate and extended family. His first message, "Hey everyone, just want to address the recent social media drama. I think things got blown out of proportion. Let's all try to move forward." I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I replied, "Happy to move forward, but only when people take accountability, not when they call consequences drama." Silence. Then my aunt chimed in with, "I always wondered why you were seated in the back. We assumed you volunteered to help with the kitchen or something." Another cousin added, "Honestly, I thought you left because you were sick or something. Had no idea you were treated like that." Within minutes, the narrative Tyler and Marissa had crafted began to unravel. And Tyler? He left the group chat. Marissa blocked me on every platform. But here's where it truly comes full circle. About 3 weeks later, I got a handwritten letter in the mail. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, and slightly smudged. No return address. Inside was a note that said, "Adrian, I've been reflecting. A lot. About everything. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. I let Marissa call the shots because I thought keeping the peace was more important than standing up for my brother. I was wrong. You've always had my back, and I made you feel invisible at the most important moment of my life. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to say thank you for everything you did, and I'm sorry for everything I didn't." Tyler. No excuses. No demands. Just that. I put the letter back in the envelope and set it on my desk. I haven't replied. Not yet. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's letting people sit in the reality they built without you, and finally realizing who was holding the roof up the whole time. And this time, I'm not holding it up anymore. I didn't reply to Tyler's letter right away. I let it sit there for a week, tucked beneath a paperweight on my desk. It wasn't that I didn't appreciate the apology. I did. In fact, part of me had waited my whole life to hear him admit he was wrong, without the usual deflections, without the "but you're too sensitive," or "I didn't mean it like that" escape routes he always clung to. But I also knew this wasn't just about a wedding. It wasn't even just about a chair. This was about years, decades, really, of being the backup plan, the problem solver, the emotional punching bag. I had spent so long playing the role of the steady brother that I didn't even realize how far I had let myself be pushed down just to make others comfortable. And now, the silence I was holding wasn't bitterness, it was clarity. I needed to decide what kind of relationship I wanted going forward, not just with Tyler, but with my family as a whole. And then the holidays rolled around. Thanksgiving was at my parents' house that year, as usual. They'd gone all out turkey, stuffing, the whole spread. And to my surprise, Tyler and Marissa were both invited. Or maybe I should say still invited, because I was starting to realize how rarely I'd been the one truly included over the years. I hadn't committed to going, but my mom called me a week prior, saying, "It would mean a lot if you came, Adrian. No drama, I promise." So I said yes, not to be polite, not to keep the peace, but because I was no longer avoiding hard conversations. When I walked into the house that afternoon, things felt off. Not tense exactly, but quieter than usual. Cousins gave me nods of acknowledgement. My aunt offered an awkward smile. Tyler was in the living room, helping set up chairs. When he saw me, he froze, then gave a stiff wave. Marissa wasn't there. My mother whispered later that she had other plans this year, which, let's be honest, probably translated to she couldn't face the people who saw through her. We sat down to eat. Tyler was quiet through most of dinner, picking at his food, occasionally laughing too hard at someone's joke. He kept glancing at me like he was waiting for a cue, a signal that everything was fine again. I didn't give it to him. After dessert, while people were milling about and football played softly in the background, Tyler came up to me in the kitchen. We were alone. "Thanks for coming," he said, quietly. I nodded. "Thanks for the letter." He looked relieved, like that was the icebreaker he needed. I meant what I said. I was a fool. I let things get way out of hand. "You did," I replied. I wasn't going to sugarcoat it. He needed to hear it said aloud. He winced, but didn't argue. I thought, maybe we could get back to normal. I stared at him. "What does that even mean, Tyler?" Because for me, normal was being your backup. It was being the guy you called when you needed a bailout, but not when you got promoted. It was being seated behind the kitchen like I was an afterthought at your wedding. He sighed. I know that now, and I don't want it to be like that anymore." "You can want that," I said, "but you have to earn it. I'm not handing out second chances like candy. You don't get to disrespect someone for years and then fix it with one apology." He looked down, nodding. "So what do I do?" I crossed my arms. "You show up. Consistently. You stop making everything about yourself. You take responsibility without being asked. And you stop expecting me to play the fixer every time your world falls apart." He nodded again, slower this time. "Okay, I can do that." I shrugged. "We'll see." He didn't press the issue further. Didn't try to hug me or crack a joke to ease the tension. For once, he let the weight of his mistakes hang in the air without trying to wriggle out from under them. Progress. Over the next few months, something interesting happened. Tyler actually tried. He started small. Texts without asking for anything. Hey, how's work?" "Here." Just thinking of you there." They weren't overly sentimental, just consistent. Then, one Saturday, he showed up at my place with coffee and a bag of croissants. "No reason," he said, holding up the bag. "Just wanted to hang." We watched a game together. Talked about work. He didn't bring up the wedding once. Didn't ask for help with any disaster. Just existed with me. As a brother. It wasn't a fairy tale reconciliation. I didn't trust him overnight. But something had shifted. And little by little, I allowed myself to meet him halfway. Marissa, though? She never reached out. I heard through the grapevine that she wasn't thrilled with the way things had unraveled. She lost a few social connections after the wedding fallout, especially among mutual friends who saw how she treated me. She had a reputation now, not one I gave her, but one she earned. By spring, Tyler and Marissa announced they were taking space. Not officially separated, just reevaluating the relationship. I wasn't surprised. From what I heard, things had been tense since Bali, and my refusal to be their doormat had apparently forced them to confront a lot of cracks in their foundation. Tyler didn't go into detail, but one day over lunch he said, "I think I got so caught up in impressing everyone that I forgot how to just be real." She loved the version of me that fit her Instagram feed. Not the guy eating cold pizza in a hoodie at midnight. I just nodded. It wasn't my place to weigh in, but I was glad he was seeing it now. That summer, Tyler invited me to his small backyard cookout for his birthday. No tuxedos, no centerpieces, no seating charts. Just friends, burgers, and a cooler of cheap drinks. He handed me the tongs and said, "You're on grill duty." Tradition, right? It wasn't a grand gesture, but it felt like something real. And when the night wound down, he raised his bottle and said, "To Adrian, for showing me what a brother should be, even when I didn't deserve it." I didn't make a speech. I just clinked bottles with him and said, "Took you long enough." Everyone laughed. The moment passed, but in that laughter, something settled. Forgiveness isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about choosing who's worth giving the future to. I still keep the wedding decanter in my cabinet. It's not a painful reminder anymore. It's just glass, beautiful, solid, and finally being used the way it was meant to be. Kind of like me.